So spring training has officially come to a close. The Mets finished with a 13-13-5 record, but we all know these games, they don't mean anything. The real race begins this week in Houston with opening day on Thursday. And in a season full of buzz around the New York Mets today, I'm going to give you part one of my predictions for the 2025 Mets Award winners. So in this video, I'm going to give you the Mets 2025 MVP. I'll give you the Cy Young, who I think will be the ace of the staff this season. And those two are positive, so I got to give you one negative one. It'll be the most disappointing player this season. So let's begin with the most valuable player. And I think this one's a toss-up between two players. And most people will probably go with the chalk and pick Juan Soto. I mean, after all, the guy just got the biggest contract in the history of sports, and he's been a top 5 player in the league since he debuted. But despite that, I'm sticking with my main man, Mr. Smile himself. Francisco Lindor will be the MVP of the 2025 Mets. Lindor enters his 5th season with the Mets and has really become everything we could have hoped for when the team acquired him in the trade with Cleveland. That first year in 2021, we know things didn't get off on the right foot, but since then, Lindor cemented himself as an all-time Met at this point. Over the last 3 seasons, he's averaged a 6.1 WAR with 30 homers and 99 RBIs, not to mention dazzling defense out in the field, game in and game out. He even had some of the iconic moments in Mets history last year down the stretch and in October, and it's looking like the number 12 is going to be hanging in the rafters one day at Citi Field. As for Soto, I do think he's going to have a solid season, but just like Lindor in 2021, I do expect some growing pains for him. Yeah, he played in New York last season and was a stud from wire to wire for the Yankees, but still there's a lot of pressure on him being the highest paid player in baseball and switching to the crosstown rival. He's also going to be asked to play a more difficult right field at Citi Field, and while Mark Vientos and Pete Alonso are both great hitters, they're not Aaron Judge. I think even the biggest Yankee hater could admit that. So while I do think Soto will probably be the second most important position player on this team, the Mets MVP this year is going to be Francisco Lindor. Moving to the mound, the Mets have had many Cy Young winners in franchise history, from Tom Seaver to Doc Gooden and Jacob deGrom. No one on this staff is winning the actual Cy Young, I can promise you that. But I do think there's one guy in this staff that is going to find a way to become the ace of the rotation. And it may be crazy of me to say, but I'm going with David Peterson. Peterson enters his 6th year in the Bigs, his debut season coming in 2020, which we all know doesn't count, but it had been a roller coaster ride for him ever since then. But Peterson finally lived up to his first-round draft status in 2024, pitching to a 2.9 earned run average over 21 starts, good for an ERA plus of 136. And the biggest key to that was his control. Peterson has struggled with walks since he debuted, but in 2024, he had the lowest walk rate of his career, and he also limited the long ball to his opponents, just 8 on the entire season. And a big reason for that was because Peterson may finally have been fully healthy for the first time in a long time. Peterson underwent hip surgery in the 2023 offseason, and he himself said that he was finally able to fully master his mechanics and just feel comfortable on the mound again. So Peterson's 29 now. When Sean Manaea returns, he's probably slated as the 3 in this rotation, but I really believe he's going to pitch like an ace from wire to wire. He's finally got command of the zone. That slider's become devastating to hitters from both sides of the plate, and I think he's going to put it all together. I don't use wins to evaluate a pitcher because this isn't 1974, but I'll tell you this. I believe that Peterson will have a top 10 ERA for National League starters by the end of 2025. He'll be the Cy Young of this rotation this year. All right, so we started with 2 positives in the MVP and the Cy Young. Now let's get to the one negative, and that's the most disappointing player for 2025. And it pains me to say it, but I think it's going to be Francisco Alvarez. Go back to 2022 and Francisco Alvarez was the top prospect in all of baseball. The Mets had signed him to a big international free agent deal, and his minor league numbers were living up to the hype. He had a solid rookie season in 2023, clubbing 25 homers. He drove in 63 runs. His OPS, his batting average, they left a little bit to be desired, but Mets fans knew there was tons of untapped potential. But in 2024, Alvarez had just 1 homer in the first 16 games of the season before going down with a thumb injury. He would then miss 46 games, and things never really picked up for him. Just 10 homers the rest of the way after returning. And so we said, okay, 2025, he's still only 23 years old. Let's do this again. Or not. Alvarez is dealing with injury again. The hamate fracture in that same ham will keep him out at least the first month plus of the season, and so we have to wait again for Alvarez's breakout year to begin. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm giving up on Alvarez. I haven't. He's still young, but he's got a lot of questions that he needs to answer. This injury history, is he ever going to be able to stay on the field? And when he is playing, is he going to become that 25 to 30 home run bat that we all thought he would be? That hamate injury is no joke, especially for ball players trying to grip a bat again. They said 8 weeks, but that's just to begin baseball activities. Then we're talking about batting practice, a rehab assignment. I'm thinking best case scenario, we probably won't see Francisco Alvarez again until the end of May. I really hope I'm wrong because I still believe Alvarez is the catcher of the future for this team, but he's got 2 strikes against him, and starting the season out with injury is not what I wanted to see in a bounce back year. So what do you guys think? Who will be the Mets MVP? Will it be Francisco Lindor? Will it be Juan Soto? Or maybe a big season out of Pete Alonso or Mark Vientos? Am I crazy for thinking that David Peterson's going to be the ace of this staff for 2025? And is Alvarez going to make me look silly and have a huge season for the Mets? Let me know in the comment section below. Part 2 coming out tomorrow. Let's go Mets.